The stars above Earth twinkled brightly as a massive alien fleet descended toward the planet. Their ships, sleek and powerful, cut through the blackness of space with ease. These were the K-Varians, an alien race known across the galaxy for their advanced technology and unshakable confidence. They had conquered dozens of planets, and they thought Earth would be no different. From their warships, the K-Varians looked down on the planet, laughing at its primitive defenses. No advanced weapons, no real military, their leader, Vorka, muttered. This will be easier than we thought. But as the K-Varian forces began their descent toward Earth, they quickly realized one thing: the humans were not as weak as they seemed. They had a weapon that was about to turn everything upside down. On the ground, in a secret underground base, a group of human scientists and engineers prepared their weapon. It wasn't much to look at, just a giant, clunky cannon. The K-Varians had seen similar designs in their history books, but they were laughable, outdated, and ineffective. The cannon was huge, rusty in some places, and looked like it had been built by children. There were wires hanging from it, and it gave off an unpolished, makeshift vibe that made the K-Varian soldiers laugh out loud when they first saw it on their surveillance system. "This is their defense?" Vorka scoffed. "A giant toy? We will crush them with ease." But the humans were determined. The cannon was ready. The K-Varians began their attack, launching beams of concentrated energy at Earth's cities, ripping through buildings and causing massive destruction. But just as the human forces seemed ready to be overwhelmed, the order came. "Fire the cannon." The command rang out from the leader of the human resistance. With a loud creaking noise, the giant cannon fired. Instead of a traditional blast of energy, a powerful electromagnetic pulse, EMP shot from the barrel and spread across the sky. It moved like a wave, disrupting everything it touched. For a moment, nothing happened. And then the K-Varian ships began to falter. First, their communication systems went down. Then their shields flickered and died. Soon after, their weapons stopped functioning entirely. Panic spread through the K-Varian fleet as their sophisticated technology malfunctioned all at once. The ships, which had once seemed invincible, now hovered uselessly in the sky, vulnerable and powerless. Vorka's eyes widened in disbelief as his own ship's systems went dark. "What is this?" he shouted. "Our ships, our weapons are useless." The K-Varian fleet, now completely disabled, began to lose control. Without their energy shields, the ships were easy targets for Earth's remaining forces. What had seemed like a foolproof invasion turned into a desperate struggle for survival. The K-Varians could do nothing but watch as their ships, once symbols of invincibility, drifted in the atmosphere, helpless. Vorka tried to regain control of his ship, but it was too late. The EMP had done its job. Every K-Varian ship was disabled, their technology no longer functioning. "Retreat," Vorka finally ordered. "Get us out of here, now!" The K-Varians, humiliated and stunned, quickly activated their emergency warp drives and fled back into space. What had begun as an invasion to conquer Earth had turned into a crushing defeat. The once mighty K-Varian Empire, known for its unmatched technology, had been driven away by a weapon they never took seriously. The humans had won, and the K-Varians were forced to retreat in shame. Back on Earth, the human leaders stood proudly, watching as the K-Varian fleet disappeared into the stars. The cannon, which had been the centerpiece of the resistance, stood silently on the battlefield. It was massive and unimpressive, just as it had been before the attack. But in that moment, it was more powerful than the K-Varian fleet had ever been. The truth became clear. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon is the one no one expects. While the K-Varians had relied on their advanced technology, it was human ingenuity and creativity that had won the day. The cannon, with its simple design and ancient technology, had turned the tide of battle in humanity's favor. It wasn't a weapon of destruction, it was a weapon of simplicity and surprise. And in that moment, humanity had proven that even the most basic tools, when used cleverly and with determination, could change the fate of entire worlds. The humans celebrated their victory, knowing they had shown the universe that they were no longer to be underestimated. As for the K-Varians, they would leave this defeat behind, but the memory of their failure on Earth would haunt them for years to come. In the end, the stupid weapon, the giant, clunky cannon, had been the key to saving humanity. And in the galaxy, where the K-Varians had once been the rulers, one thing was certain: humanity would no longer be seen as weak. The skies above Earth were filled with the roar of alien ships. The XL-Wrath, a powerful and cold-blooded alien race, had arrived. Their ships were sleek and advanced, their weapons far superior to anything humanity had ever seen. They had traveled across the galaxy, conquering countless worlds with their technology and ruthless tactics. Earth, they decided, would be no different. The XL-Wrath commanders watched from their ships as their ground forces began to land. Their leader, Zarok, gave a cold smile. "These humans are weak," he said. "Their weapons are nothing compared to ours. We will crush them in a matter of days." On Earth, the humans were preparing for the worst. They knew the XL-Wrath were coming, and they didn't have the technology to fight them head-on. But humanity had something the XL-Wrath didn't. Something they would never expect. Deep within an underground facility, a team of scientists and engineers worked on the last hope for Earth. It was a secret weapon, something that no alien could ever understand. It was not a weapon of guns or bombs, but of emotions. The device was simple: a large machine, almost like a giant speaker, connected to multiple sensors and wires. But its power came from something far greater. It had the ability to turn human emotions into pure energy, energy that could be used as a devastating weapon. The plan was simple. When the XL-Wrath attacked, the humans would activate the device, harnessing the power of their emotions, anger, love, fear, and hope, and channeling them into a massive burst of energy. The XL-Wrath forces began their invasion with ruthless efficiency. Their energy beams tore through buildings, their weapons cutting down anything that stood in their way. They mocked Earth's defenses, easily brushing aside anything the humans tried to throw at them. Zarok watched, pleased by the destruction. "They don't stand a chance," he muttered. But the humans were not as helpless as they seemed. As the XL-Wrath pushed deeper into Earth's cities, the time had come. The device was activated. At first, nothing happened. But then, the air on the machine began to hum with power. A strange wave of energy spread outward, and the XL-Wrath forces, who had never known emotions like humans did, felt something they had never experienced before. Fear. Started small, just a flicker of unease. But it quickly grew, spreading through their ranks. For the first time, the XL-Wrath warriors felt their hearts race, their minds clouded with uncertainty. They had never known fear before. They had never needed to, but now it gripped them. The weapon was working. Zarok tried to regain control of his forces, but it was too late. As more of the energy from the device flowed into the atmosphere, other emotions began to infect the XL-Wrath. Anger, guilt, sadness. Some dropped their weapons, unable to focus on the fight. Others collapsed, clutching their heads, unable to understand what was happening to them. "What is this feeling?" one of the XL-Wrath soldiers cried. "Why am I scared?" Zarok tried to rally his forces, but even he was not immune. As the energy waves hit him, he felt something strange deep inside. It was guilt. Guilt for the destruction he had caused, for the lives he had taken. He tried to push it aside, but it only grew stronger. The emotions were taking over. The XL-Wrath, for the first time in their long history, were feeling what humans had always felt: emotion. And it was weakening them. The battle raged on. The humans, driven by their emotions, anger, fear, and love for their planet, fought back with strength they didn't know they had. Their emotions fueled them, empowering them in ways that technology could never match. The XL-Wrath tried to fight back, but they were no match for the intensity of what they were feeling. Their once imposing forces, filled with advanced weapons and technology, were now nothing but a group of confused, frightened beings. They had underestimated the power of human emotions. Zarok, seeing that his army was falling apart, made the only choice he had left. "Retreat," he ordered. "Get us out of here." The XL-Wrath ships began to pull back, abandoning their forces and fleeing into space. The humans had won. The victory was not because of superior technology or powerful weapons. It was because of something far stronger, the power of human emotions. The Exorath had thought they could easily crush Earth, but they hadn't realized that emotions, things like fear, love, and hope, could be weaponized in ways they could never understand. As the last of the Exorath ships disappeared into the sky, the humans stood victorious. The emotion bomb had worked. The simple human ability to feel had defeated the most advanced alien army in the galaxy. And in that moment, humanity knew that their true strength didn't lie in their technology or their weapons. It lay in their hearts, their minds, and the power of their emotions. The skies above Earth were darkened as the alien fleet descended. The Exinther, a race known throughout the galaxy for their advanced technology and ruthless conquests, had arrived. Their ships, sleek and deadly, hovered over cities, ready to unleash their superior weapons on the human race. The Exinther had seen planets fall before. They had destroyed civilizations with ease, and they expected no different on Earth. With their powerful lasers, energy shields, and mind control devices, they were confident they would wipe out humanity in a matter of hours. But Earth had a secret. Deep beneath the surface, in a hidden military base, the humans had developed something the Exinther could not have predicted, a device they called the Reality Bender. It didn't look like much. To the untrained eye, it was just a large, strange machine with a glowing core and several wires dangling from it. At first glance, it seemed like a failed experiment, a stupid weapon with no real power. As the Exinther began their assault, launching beams of energy toward Earth's cities, the human resistance began to deploy the Reality Bender. The Exinther watched from their command ships, amused. What can this ridiculous thing possibly do? Their leader, General T. Rock, scoffed. We have weapons that can shatter mountains. This thing won't stop us. But as the machine powered up, something strange began to happen. At first, nothing. The machine hummed quietly, sending out a faint pulse that seemed to have no effect. The Exinther laughed even harder. Is that it? One of them mocked. Such a weak display. Then, the ground beneath them shifted. Suddenly, the Exinther soldiers found themselves standing in a completely different world. The streets they had been marching on vanished, replaced by a vast, open desert. The air was thick, and the sand burned beneath their feet. They looked around, confused. Where are we? One soldier asked. For a moment, they hesitated, unsure of what had happened. Then, they heard a loud rumbling sound. Before they could react, massive, ancient beasts appeared in the desert, charging at them. Their eyes widened in panic. The soldiers tried to fire their weapons, but nothing happened. Their guns had stopped working. T. Rock, watching from his ship, clenched his fists. What's going on? He shouted. This isn't possible. But the illusions weren't just confined to the desert. The Exinther soldiers looked around, and suddenly, the sky was filled with enormous, fire-breathing dragons. One soldier turned to run, but found himself back at the same spot. The desert, the dragons, the rumbling sound, it was all fake, but it felt real. Their senses couldn't tell the difference. They were trapped. Back on Earth, the humans watched the Exinther forces struggle. They had no idea what was happening to them. The Reality Bender didn't work by attacking with physical force. Instead, it bent reality itself, creating illusions so powerful that they overwhelmed the mind. The Exinther, who were trained to fight with technology, were now caught in a trap of their own senses. T-Rock's voice crackled through the comms. All units, retreat. Fall back to the ships, he ordered. But it was no use. The soldiers couldn't escape the illusions. The world around them shifted again, and now they were standing on a crumbling bridge over a vast chasm. One soldier reached out to grab a rope, only to find it disintegrating in his hands. Another soldier reached for his gun, only to realize he was holding a cup of water. Nothing was what it seemed. What is happening? One soldier screamed. We're losing our minds. The Exinther tried to use their technology to fight back. They activated their energy shields, but the illusions were too powerful. They tried to fire their weapons, but they had no idea what was real anymore. Every attempt to regain control only made things worse. The ground beneath them shifted again, and they found themselves in a pitch-black void. The stars around them seemed to move closer, and for a moment, it felt like they were falling into an endless abyss. Some of the soldiers collapsed, shaking with fear, unable to distinguish what was real from what was fake. In the chaos, T-Rock's command ship, which had been hovering above, suddenly flickered and lost power. The Exinther's most advanced ship was now as vulnerable as the rest of them. Truck screamed once more, but it was too late. His ship couldn't escape the illusions either. In desperation, the Exinther forces scrambled to get back to their ships, but nothing made sense anymore. The world around them was constantly shifting, constantly changing. It was impossible to escape. After what seemed like an eternity of confusion, the Exinther forces were defeated. The reality bender, which had seemed like a stupid weapon, had broken their spirits and disoriented them to the point of retreat. On Earth, the humans stood victorious, unsure of how the device had worked but thankful for its success. The reality bender had proven that sometimes, bending reality was more powerful than physical force. It didn't matter how advanced the Exinther's weapons were. They couldn't fight what they couldn't understand. As the last of the Exinther ships fled into space, the humans celebrated their unlikely victory. They had not defeated the invaders with guns or bombs, but with their ingenuity and the power of illusion. The Exinther would never forget this lesson, that sometimes the most powerful weapon is the one that bends the very fabric of reality itself. The sky above Earth was filled with the roar of alien warships. The Zorath, a ruthless and technologically advanced alien race, had arrived. Their massive ships loomed over cities, casting shadows that sent chills down the spines of every human on the planet. Their weapons were unlike anything Earth had ever seen: energy beams that could melt entire buildings, shields that could withstand anything, and soldiers with advanced armor. The Zorath had conquered countless planets before. They were confident that Earth, with its primitive technology, would be an easy victory. Their leader, Commander Vrax, stood on the bridge of the flagship, smiling as they prepared for the invasion. "This will be over in hours," he said coldly. "These humans won't stand a chance." But Earth had something that the Zorath didn't expect: an unexpected weapon. Deep inside a secret underground base, a group of human engineers and scientists gathered. They had spent weeks developing a plan. The Zorath had underestimated them, believing that nothing but advanced technology could stop them. But the humans had a different idea, one that no alien could have imagined. The weapon? Paper airplanes. At first, the Zorath thought it was a joke. They saw humans gathering materials, folding sheets of paper into planes. "What is this nonsense?" One of the Zorath commanders laughed. "Do they really think paper can stop us?" The humans, however, were not just making paper airplanes for fun. Each plane was carefully crafted, and each one was rigged with a tiny explosive charge. The folds and creases of the paper helped conceal the small but powerful bombs. It was a simple plan, but it was effective. It didn't matter that the Zorath had the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. These tiny paper bombs were going to turn the tide of the battle. As the Zorath forces began their attack, launching devastating energy blasts on Earth's cities, the humans launched their counterattack. Thousands upon thousands of paper airplanes were sent flying into the sky. At first, they seemed harmless, just ordinary, flimsy pieces of paper soaring through the air. The Zorath commanders chuckled, convinced that they had nothing to worry about. But as the planes flew closer, something unexpected happened. The planes suddenly exploded, sending shockwaves through the Zorath forces. The tiny bombs embedded in the planes detonated with impressive force, tearing through the alien soldiers' advanced armor and causing chaos in their ranks. The Zorath were caught off guard. They tried to shoot the planes out of the sky, but it was impossible to hit them all. The paper airplanes were too fast and too numerous, darting through the air like a swarm of bees. Every time a plane hit the ground, another exploded, sending waves of destruction through the alien forces. Commander Vrax watched in disbelief as his troops began to panic. "What are these things?" he shouted. "How are they doing this?" The Zorath soldiers scrambled to defend themselves, but it was no use. The paper airplanes kept coming. They were everywhere, flying from every direction, bombarding the aliens with explosions. The once proud invaders were now overwhelmed by something as simple as paper. The Zorath tried to retaliate, using their advanced technology to launch counterattacks, but the paper planes kept coming. The aliens' shields were no match for the cleverness of the humans. The Zorath couldn't keep up with the unexpected onslaught. What they had thought would be an easy victory turned into a nightmare. One by one, the Zorath forces began to retreat. The paper airplanes, with their tiny explosive charges, had done what nothing else could stop the most powerful alien army in the galaxy. Commander Vrax realized too late that the humans' creativity and resourcefulness had turned an ordinary object into a devastating weapon. In the midst of the chaos, the humans cheered. Against all odds, they had won. It wasn't their advanced technology that had saved them. It was their ability to think outside the box and turn something as simple as paper into their most powerful weapon. The Zorath had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. As the last of the alien ships retreated into space, Commander Vrax stared at Earth one last time. He had come to conquer, but he was leaving with nothing. The humans had taught him a valuable lesson: never underestimate the power of creativity. The world was saved, not by lasers, bombs, or high-tech weaponry, but by the simple ingenuity of humanity. The paper airplanes had proven that sometimes the most powerful weapons are the ones you least expect.